And we can say more we understand that how the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Bhagavan's Lila, is completely transcendental. It is the total spiritual experience to that extent that we become spiritually purified. The speaker speak the same message, but my Guru Maharaj used to say everybody carry their own filter. It doesn't allow us to go through that message exactly as the speaker is saying. So let's first of all pray to our Guru Parampara and Lord Ramchandra to bestow their mercy upon us so we can grasp something in our life. And my Guru Maharaj used to say, what does it mean by hearing? If by hearing, if your life cannot get changed, that hearing has no meaning. We will keep on hearing for many, many lives. So that should be our mood. What should I do after hearing wonderful pastime in my practical life? What should I do to change so I can become closer to Krishna? That should be the intent. And let's pray. Only through that mercy we will be able to hear those messages. And therefore, the most important activity in our life is to hear the glories of the Lord and to chant the glories of the Lord. But we must hear from authoritative sources, otherwise it has totally different effect. We will become more lazier and we will feel we attend something which has no ground or base, speculative. Otherwise, our Acharya said that you will not get the proper understanding. Just like there are so many people who have so many opinion about Lord Sri Krishna's Leela or Lord Ramchandra's Leela. And you cannot understand the transcendental nature of the Lord's appearance and activity unless we hear from those who are coming in a disciplic line of self-realized soul. So one who knows the God can reveal God. Otherwise, we find there are so many people who knows Krishna's pastimes. They can recite wonderful, but they really do not know anything about Krishna. There are so many people who know Ram Lila, but they do not know nothing about Rams. People are saying the Mahabharata. You know, there was a what you call but there was a series they were playing, you know, in India on the TV about the Mahabharata and Ramayana. And as they watching the pastime, many of the defects of Mahabharata are actually what are written in the book, and some of them are changed, and many of them are just like it's written in the book. So we are having so many misconceptions that we hear. And Prabhupada used to say that to Shyam Hari Prabhuji, please. Prabhupada used to say, it's very difficult to write something on the piece of paper which has so many things already written. And Prabhupada used to say, at least those devotees who has taken birth in India, they have heard so many things. So first of all, Prabhupada says that I need to put effort to erase those things. Then I can write something. But the American devotees or those who has not been exposed to Krishna consciousness, that slate, that piece of paper is blank. And Prabhupada used to say, I can write whatever I want to write. Therefore, To hear the glories of the Lord in the association of sincere devotee of the Lord is the most important part of our life. Because it is the only through the process that we can understand the transcendental nature of the appearance and the activities of the Lord. And it is only by the process that our mind becomes attracted away from the temporary pastime of this world and attracted to the lotus feet of Supreme Personality of Godhead. So we are so fortunate that we are here on this call. 77 devotees get together for the most beautiful and merciful form of the son of Dashrath, Sri Ram, Ramchandra. And this story was originally told and written by the great sage Valmiki Muni. So Valmiki Muni, as we know, was a highway robber and a hunter. He would torture and murder innocent creatures as his very means of livelihood. But of course, how many ever think of him like that now? That anyone can condemn him for being like that? We glorify him for being like that because the more fallen person is, the more glorious it is when he becomes great. Valmiki Muni, although living in such a sinful and ruthless life, in the association of the great devotee Narad Muni, he became purified. Narad Muni taught him that if you want to be purified from all your sins, you must chant the name of Ram. Valmiki Muni was so sinful, he could not chant the name of Ram. Now someone thinks that I'm also fallen and I'm addicted to so many sinful activities. What hope is there for me to become self-realized? So sometimes we become discouraged. Do we or not? Haribol. Thinking that I'm addicted to so many bad habits. Actually, we should write down on a piece of paper. Then and then we will try to eradicate it. Get away from those activities. If we don't make a list, how we will work on those? So many attachments. Our mind is so uncontrolled. How is it possible for us to become liberated in this life in Krishna consciousness? We should ask. But every one of you in this Zoom call is able to chant the name of Ram correctly. Who cannot chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. And I was saying that if you cannot see that Radha Krishna is sitting right in front of us, they are listening my chanting, then how we will be able to utter? At least we should feel their presence, then we will utter nicely, because they are listening. So Acharya is willing to adjust all the rules and regulations to somehow or other make a person Krishna conscious. When we look at the position of our Guru, just think about it. They must be crying, seeing the disciple take initiation, but doesn't make advancement. And we go and we offer our obeisances and we always say, Guru Maharaj, please give me your mercy. Just think what they are thinking when we say that. I have already given you the mercy by accepting me as my disciple. What else do you need? So, how can we, it says that make a person Krishna conscious. Now, what Acharya has ever taught previously to chant the name of the God of death? Can you think of anyone? What bona fide Guru taught? Chant Mara, which means death. Nobody does that. But we sometimes chant like that, not pronouncing properly. But Narad Muni knew that this man is so attached to death, he is so intimate with killing, that he will be able to chant the name of Mara with great feeling. So therefore we understand that this is the real Acharya. He is not simply self-righteous just to maintain traditions, but he is willing to do whatever it takes to liberate those persons who is preaching to. So he began to chant Mara, 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 Mara. And then by chanting, what was his qualification? His qualification was simply he was willing to try to obey his guru. He had no qualification. He was such a sinful demon. He was a demon. But because he was simply willing to try to follow the instruction of his guru sincerely, all of his shortcomings were put aside by the Supreme Lord Ram in a very short time. And he was chanting the name of Ram purely. Then he was given the vision of the transcendental pastime of Sri Lord Ramchandra. And he noted down for all the world, and he wrote, that is longer than the mountains, securely placed on this earth. And as long as there are rivers flowing from those mountains to the sea, the holy name of Ram and the pastime of Ramayana will be chanted by all pious men. Now, Valmiki Muni wanted this great scripture to be chanted in a great cities of the world. So his two most intimate and past disciples, he taught them Ramayana. And they were so virtuous that by hearing, once they learned it by memory, and they were dispatched to chant for Ramayana for the benefit of all the living beings. They were Shrutadhar. Once they hear something, because their mind was completely pure. We have so many feelings, so many thoughts in our mind. How can we hear it, even the message? So their names were Love and Kush. They happened to be the two sons of Sita and Ram, who from their time of the birth lived in the hermitage of Valmiki Muni, after Sita Devi was banished to the forest. So Love and Kush came to Ayodhya, and in the holy street of Ayodhya, they began to chant the beautiful glories of Ramayana. Although they had identical bodily feature of their father of Sri Lord Ramchandra, they could not be recognized because they were living like ascetics within the bark of trees with matted hair. And when Lord Ramchandra heard this pastime being narrated, he invited Love and Kush into his palace court and invited all his ministers and all the town people to listen attentively to the beautiful words of the story of Sri Lord Ramchandra. So the narration of the Ramayana begins by Kush and Love narrating this pastime to Ram himself. It is described that in the holy city of Ayodhya, which is situated in the holy bank of the river Sarayu, there was a great king of the name Dashrath. And he was the king of the province of Koshal and a great descendant of Maharaj Iswaku of the Solar dynasty. King Dashrath was very pious and religious king. He was in true sense of Rajashri. He was simultaneously a saint and also as a king. So he was pure devotee of God. And everyone in his kingdom was thoroughly satisfied because he was teaching everyone to live perfectly and harmony with the laws of God by exhibiting in his own life. So the kingdom of Ayodhya, because of the piety of this great king, was flourishing with prosperity. There was no poverty. There was a great opulence. The roads were beautiful and clean, scented with sandalwood and fragrant oil, and the houses were made of marble and decorated on the jewels. And all the people were dressed in a beautiful coloring clothing, and everyone was constantly singing the glories of Lord Srila Ramchandra. Dasharat Maharaj had 350 queens. Haribol. And we are talking about Treta Yuga, where men lived tens and thousands of years old. And a great king, they were allowed to protect and care for as many women as they could satisfy. We can imagine how great King Dashrath was, that he could 350 queens simultaneously fully satisfied. How many of you, husband, can keep your one wife fully satisfied? Raise your hand if you can do that. We don't want to put anybody on the spot. We can understand how great and glorious the king was. He was Maharathi. In the battle, he can destroy thousands of men at a time. So one day, he approached his minister and he explained to them, as well as the great saints and sages, that he was feeling great distress in his heart because although he was growing very old, he had not yet had a single son. And of course, a king is very important to have a son because someone must continue the dynasty. So that he said, all my wealth and with all my strength, and although I have conquered the whole world, I am the king of earth. Although all my subjects love me as their father, still my heart is empty because I have no son. He said actually that I desire to perform a sacrifice to Lord Vishnu in order to have a male son. So at that time, his guru Vasistha Muni, he said to Dashrath, my dear king, I'll make arrangement for the sacrifice. Then his very loyal and faithful minister, Sumantra, took him aside. He said, so many years ago, the great sage Sanat Kumar gave you a benediction. He told you that you would have one daughter and you should name her Santa, and that you should marry her to a great sage, Rishayashringa. And the same sage Rishayashringa would perform a sacrifice to Lord Vishnu. And from that sacrifice, you will have 4 illustrious and glorious sons. So the minister says to Dashrath, so my feeling is that you should go and find Rishayashringa. What happened is after he had the beautiful daughter Shanta, there was a king by name Ramapad. He was the king of Anga dynasty and he had no children. So Dashrath Maharaj was feeling very much for him. So he gave him his only daughter. And she grew up as the princess of Maharaj Ramapada. Maharaj Ramapada, under Dashrath's instructions, married his daughter to Rishayashringa. So Dashrath Maharaj went to that place and there were cordial greetings and there was warm friendship. After 1 week, he brought Rishayashringa back to Ayodhya. And then in the presence of all the great sages and saints, all the friends of Dashrath, he began to exclaim his great distress. And Rishayashringa replied, my dear King Dashrath, I will perform an Ashwamedh Yajna to Lord, and I promise you the Supreme Lord himself will appear in 4 forms as your son. So he began to perform the sacrifice, and when the time came to offer oblations to the various demigods, all the demigods appear on the scene, headed by Lord Brahma. And they all took part, their share of the sacrifice. And at that time, all the demigods approached Brahmaji. They took the opportunity and with folded hands and tears in their eyes, they began to explain Brahmaji, the great Rakshasa of blood, seeking demon Ravana was completely causing havoc throughout the entire universe. He was killing innocent people, sucking their blood. He was destroying the sacrifice of Brahmanas. He was harassing the demigod and exploiting their property. In this way, the whole universe is in a great anxiety. And he was so powerful in a whole universe. And that whole universe is in a great anxiety. And he was so powerful because you have given him these benedictions that no one can defeat him. So Brahmaji, please do something. You are our father, you are our guide. So at that time, Lord Brahma began to think, what is to be done? And he began to pray to Lord Vishnu. And just at that time, from behind the clouds, almost beautiful effulgent light was beheld by everyone in the assembly house of Maharaj Dashrath. And they're shining like millions of sun appear. Lord Narayan descending on his bird Garuda, and Lord Brahma began to pray. Lord Narayan, this demon Ravana is causing so much distress, and you are the only one that can annihilate him. And Lord Vishnu explained to Brahmaji that I will soon come. I will appear as the four sons of Dashrath, and Ravana will be killed. And after confirming the fulfillment of their desire, Lord Narayan again ascended to Vaikuntha and disappeared. Then Lord Brahma, Tene Brahma Rudaya Adhikavya, who is receiving information from Krishna in his heart, he explained that all you demigod, Vishnu wants you to help him in this great battle against Ravana. So therefore you should all expand yourself and take birth as a monkey in the jungle of Krishnanda. And you should expand yourself with all the power and all the strength you have now. And very soon the Supreme Lord Hari will come. And together he will revive the earth of the burden of Ravana and his Rakshasa dynasty. So at that time all the demigods left. They all returned to their abodes, and then they all began making their plans. First, the king of heaven, Indra, he expanded himself and begot a child, and his name was Bali. Bali possessed all the strength and potency of his father Indra. Then the sun god, Vivaswan, he begot the most illustrious and faithful Sugriva, who is equal to him in all respect. Kuera, the great treasure of the demigods, he begot the great monkey child, Gandhamandana. And Agni, he expanded himself as Susena. And Bruhspati expanded himself as Nala. The Aswini Kumaras, they expanded themselves as Mahinda and Vivida. In this way, the monkeys were very powerful. They could lift mountains. They could make the earth tremble by their footsteps. So at the end of the sacrifice of the Rishi and Singha took the Mahaprasad and the Payasanna and told King Dashrath that you give this Payasanna to your wives, and whoever drinks this, Lord Narayan will come to your son. So he first divided Prasad in half. And he gave the first half to the principal wife, Kaushalya. And she drank it. And he took the other half and divided that in half and gave that half to Sumitra. And then he took that half and divided into another half and gave that half to Kaikai. And the other half to Sumitra. Very soon after drinking this divine Mahaprasad, all the three mothers became pregnant. This is the transcendental nature of the appearance of the Lord. He does not have to come into the world through the same medium that we do. Ram was born from the union of his mother eating Mahaprasad. And 1 year after the sacrifice, on the most auspicious time when all the constellations were in the perfect order, the Supreme Personality Godhead appeared as the son of Kaushalya in his most beautiful form as Sri Lord Ramchandra. Then Bharat was born of Kaikeyi, and Lakshmana was born of Sumitra, and his brother Shatrughna. And these four children, they were none other than the four expansions of Vasudeva, Sankarshan, Pradyumna, and Anuruddha, as Ramapat Swami Maharaj yesterday mentioned. They were all Vaikuntha Murtis of Sri Hari. It is described that they were so beautiful, all auspicious sign decorated, all of them. But all of them, Ram was the most beautiful. His eyes were like lotus flowers. His every limb was delicate and soft, but at the same time most powerful and strong. His arm extended to his knees. It is described that on his feet and on his hand were the sign of the Kongsal, the disc, lotus flower in the club. And Vasistha Muni performed the birth ceremony. And he also performed the name-giving ceremony. So when this beautiful son appeared as the princess of Dasarath, there was a great celebration throughout the city of Ayodhya for years and years. Everyone was waiting for Dasarath's child to be born. So Dasarath Maharaj would give tens and thousands of beautiful cows with golden ornaments and golden horns to the Brahmanas. He was giving mountains of grains and beautiful jewels and silk in charity to the Vaishnavas. He was preparing wonderful prasad and delivering to all living beings. In this way, there was a celebration, and all the inhabitants of Ayodhya were singing and dancing. It was a festival that no one has ever seen. All celebrating the beautiful appearance of Sri Lord Ramchandra. And actually, this is the way we should all, every year, should celebrate the appearance of Lord Ramchandra. The residents of Ayodhya described that they were singing, they were dancing, they were just joyful, eating nice prasad, distributing nice prasad, giving gift, receiving gift, because everyone's mind were immersed only on the beautiful form of this child of Lord Ramchandra. They completely forgot the miseries of the material existence. And as they began to grow older, it is described that they began to learn how to walk. And the three mothers, Sumitra, Kaikeyi, and Kaushalya, their love just had no bounds. And Dasarath Maharaj sharing their love. He was perfectly satisfied 24 hours a day, simply seeing the beautiful form of Lord Ramchandra. Indeed, every inhabitant of Ayodhya shared the same love for Lord Ramchandra, and he became, as he grew older, most learned in Vedas, the most expert archer and most expert charioteer, and the whole city was simply waiting the auspicious day when he would be coronated as a king. So it's described that when Lord Sri Ramchandra was 16 years old, the great sage Vishwamitra Muni came to the kingdom of Ayodhya. And Vishwamitra was living in the jungle. He had no material possessions. He was a hermit. He was a beggar. And Maharaj Dasarath was the king of the world. But when Vishwamitra came into the kingdom, Dasarath Maharaj greeted him with great humility and devotion. He got up his own throne and put Vishwamitra on his throne. And he washed his feet and worshipped his feet. You see, this is the secret that makes great king more greater. The great king understood that the greatest kings are those who have renounced all attachment to this material world. You see, the crown of a king is considered insignificant compared to the opulence of the robes of renunciate. Because the opulence of renunciation is the greatest opulence. One who conquered all the land is not as great as a man who conquered his senses. You see in our history, there are people, great souls, who have conquered so many lands, but they could not control their own senses. So what the lesson? One has to conquer the senses, starting from eating and sleeping. Reduce it to the extent, and you will see your body will survive. Doesn't need that much. So he was considered the great. That is why a king was called Maharaj. But a renunciate is also called Maharaj, great king. But there are different kings of kings. One who has the crown and one who wears the bark of a tree or a simple dress of renunciate. But out of the two Maharaj, the qualification of the king Maharaj is that he bowed down and worshipped as the menial servant, the renunciates, who has given their lives in the service of God. So Maharaj Dasharatha understood that the real treasure of his whole kingdom and his whole life was completely dependent on the blessings of the great souls. That's what I was telling you while we are chanting. The thought came, so at least meditate, how much are we dependent on Krishna? Ask yourself and dwell on it. So sometimes people think that those in the renounced order are lazy. But Maharaj Dasharatha was not thinking about like that for Vishwamitra. He was not saying, why not you have a job? In fact, Maharaj Dasharatha was just waiting for the day when he could give up his job and be like Vishwamitra. But he knew it is more difficult to do than to maintain his job as a king of the world. So he worshipped Vishwamitra. This is the glory of a Grihastha, that he humbles himself before those who have sacrificed everything in the service of the God. So Dasharatha Maharaj here is teaching us a lesson. Dasharatha Maharaj said to Vishwamitra Muni, I want to offer you everything in my kingdom. Whatever you like is yours. Now you have to be very careful when you say like that to a sadhu. Vishwamitra said, I will offer you anything you like. Whatever you desire is yours. After all, I'm a representative of God. I'm the king. I can fulfill any desire you have. When these great personalities see the complete mood of our surrender, they can bestow their unlimited mercy and you get empowerment. You will be able to do which is impossible to do. It says the layman can climb the mountain and the dumb can become an eloquent speaker. Everything is possible. Show your dependency on Krishna and see how your life will get turned. So Vishwamitra Muni, he looked at the Dasharatha Maharaj. Yes, my dear king, I know you are true to your words. In the forest, we are performing our sacrifice. And there are two very, very powerful asuras, Rakshasas, who are constantly spoiling all of our spiritual activity by contaminating the sacrificial arena. And their names were Maricha and Subahu. I want to take Lord Ram, your son, into the forest because it is only he who could destroy these demons. This is Vishwamitra speaking. My God, when Dasharatha heard this, he was stunned. How can you ask this? Who are these demons? I am a Maharathi. I will leave my armies and I will take one of Akshuni divisional soldiers. I'll leave the ranks and will destroy those demons. Leave Ram at home. What is the problem? Let me do it. But Ram is just a young child. He is hardly 16 years old. He's not very experienced at fighting. He's still learning his lessons in the school. He has a very frail and young body. How can he fight against these asuras? Tell me more about these asuras. So Vishwamitra revealed to him that they are the associates of Ravana. And when Dasharatha Maharaj heard this, he became very afraid. He said, no one can touch Ravana and his associate. They are very powerful. Even I cannot stand up against them. Even Indra cannot stand up against them. He said, take my whole kingdom. Take everything, but not Ram. I cannot bear separation from him. I cannot give you this son. Upon hearing this, Vishwamitra became very, very angry. He became so angry that the earth began to tremble. He said, Dasharatha Maharaj, if you relinquish truth, if you go back to your own words, all your piety and your entire kingdom and your entire fame of your dynasty will be finished today. I will leave this place, and along with me will be the end of everything in your life. Haribol. What may be the circumstances that Dasharatha Maharaj is feeling at that time? So at that time, Vasishtha Muni told King Dasharath, this Vishwamitra is very powerful. You do not want to offend him. Give him your son. Your son is the Supreme Personality Godhead. No one is going to defeat him. Even if you think he will, if he is under the care of Vishwamitra Muni could destroy all the Rakshasas single-handedly. He is the all-powerful of all sages. The only reason why he is asking for your son is he wants your son to be glorified. That's the greatness. So actually, all our gurus, Krishna wants to glorify his devotees. So that's why he brings that obstacle. And I think you can join on the online. Ramapat Swami Maharaj is going to read from the Sundarkand, that where the obstacle, how the Hanuman faces. And he became a great personality. So when the difficulty come in our devotional life, we should see as an opportunity. Krishna is intervening in my life. We should see like that when the difficulty come. And if you have the complete faith, you will see we will be able to cross over those mountains of obstacle blissfully. So what happened after he said that just for glorification he wants your son, give him Vishwamitra. Vasishtha Muni is advising Dasharatha Maharaj. So on the advice of the Vasishtha Muni, Dasharatha Maharaj says, all right, please take care of him. And then Vishwamitra took Ram into the forest. And as they wandered through the forest, they came into a jungle. And this jungle was very, very serious. There was practically no life in the jungle except fearful bees and vultures. And Lord Ramchandra said, what is happening? Why is like this? And Vishwamitra told him, there was a great female Rakshasi of the name Tataka. She was the mother of Marisha. He said, one time this forest was very holy place, where great sages and saints would come to perform sacrifice. But she has simply come and she has destroyed everything. She eats everything in sight. She loves to taste the blood. She absolutely horrified everyone with her deformed feature and her ghastly roar. Ram, you should kill this demon. So Ramchandra took his bow and he just pulled the string, and it made such a noise that all the Rakshasas, those who are the associates of the Tataka, became very afraid. But she became outraged. Who has come? She became screaming and roaring, and she came into the forest and attacked Lord Ramchandra and Lakshmana. They were covered with a cloud of dust, and she began to shower stones and rocks upon them. Then she was screaming a hideous sound, and at that time Ram took his bow and he cut off her two arms. She was even more angry, and she went upon to the sky, and Lakshmana cut off his nose and ears. And she began to shower all sorts of abominable things and shower them with rocks and stones. And in this way she was so angered that at last she plunged Lord Ramchandra with the seed of Indra's thunderbolt. And Ramchandra took his celebrated bow and shot an arrow into her breast, and she fell down, screaming, and in a moment she died. And everyone was really, really happy. Then the forest again became an auspicious place, and they took rest that night. The next morning they came to the hermitage of Vishwamitra, and then they began to perform the sacrifice. And Lord Ramchandra and Lakshman stood up day and night with Vishwamitra, waiting for Maricha and Subahu to come. They stood up for 6 days. And on the final day, all of a sudden, the sky became very, very dark, like when we see other day the eclipse happened. And they heard screaming sound, and Marichi and Subahu, very, very powerful Rakshasas, came down into the sacrificial arena and began to throw stool and pus and urine and bloody human mutilated all over the sacrificial arena. So Lord Ramchandra has no other alternative but took his bow and he took his arrow and shot it into Maricha, and it was so powerful that threw him 800 miles into the middle of an ocean. Then he took another arrow and appeared to Subahu's heart, and he died instantly. Then he took another arrow, that was the arrow of Vayu, air, and then he shattered all other Rakshasas to flee for their lives. Thus Vishwamitra was very pleased. So then Ram very humbly approached Vishwamitra, who is now his guru, and he said, "Is there any other service I can render for you?" In the evening, Lord Sri Ramchandra would massage the legs of his spiritual master along with Lakshman. They would go out and collect wood for the spiritual master to perform his sacrifice. Indeed, they would perform the most manual, insignificant services. And every day they would inquire with great humility from Vishwamitra Muni to instruct them on the goal of life and the science of the Vedas. So one person asks, do we really need Guru? Ramchandra appeared to show every human being how he must live. Do you think Jagat Guru Bhagwan Sri Ramchandra need a Guru? He is the knower of the past, present and future. He is the author of the Vedas. He is the goal of Vedas. But just to show us, whoever you are, however great you are, you must humble yourself and submit yourself to a spiritual master. Some people say that I do not need a guru. I know Krishna. But even Krishna, he will not even say that. Even Krishna accepted Guru. So the Supreme Lord, who is the enjoyer of all sacrifice, Bhoktaram Yagna Tapasya, who is the proprietor of everything, who is the master of all living beings, to set an example for us, every day and every night, he would massage his Guru's feet. He would inquire submissively for him, and his goal was simply to please his spiritual master. So Vishwamitra was very, very pleased. That's the way of making advancement. Not asking for the mercy all the time. They have already given you the mercy. Otherwise, why they will accept us as a disciple? And disciple means discipline. You see, when the spiritual master is pleased with disciple, the spiritual master shares his life with the disciple. So Vishwamitra began to take Ram and Lakshman on a pilgrimage through the forest. One day they came to the very holy city of Mithila. And when they saw the beauty of the city, they were struck with wonder. How clean and how fragrant are the flowers, and how beautiful and charming was the garden of the forest, and how peaceful and pure hearted were all the residents. Just consider this. This is the spiritual world. That's where our Guru can take us. Give up a little attachment and see how beautiful our life can become. Vishwamitra Muni began to explain that this is the great King Janak who rules over this holy land of Mithila. He explained that in this city there is a mighty bow of Lord Shankar, and people have been coming from years and years from all over the universe to try to lift this bow and bend it, because whoever does it attend the most beautiful goddess of fortune, Sita Devi, as their wife in marriage. Now we are coming to Mithila, and let us see the beauty of the palace. It is described that as they come into the kingdom, when the word came that Vishwamitra arrived, King Janak and all of his ministers with great devotion worshipped his lotus feet and took them into their palace. And after some time, Lord Ramchandra and Lakshman, with permission of their Guru, began to wonder to see the beauty of this great city. They came into a particular garden, which is the garden of Sita. And in that garden, there was a temple of goddess Parvati. And Sita Devi would daily pray to her and worship her. When Sita's friends saw the beauty of Lord Ramchandra, they were immediately struck with wonder. How can anyone be so beautiful as him? He is the perfect match for our Sita Devi. So they went on and got Sita. We want to show you something. Please come with us. And Sita, she looked through the bushes, and when she saw the beautiful fall of Ramchandra, immediately the eternal love between the Lord and his consort was awakened within her heart. Then Sri Ram, when he saw the beauty of Sita, that unlimited, infinite divine love awakened within his heart. And when they looked at it one another, Sita Devi, being very shy, immediately looked over his lotus feet and fixed her eyes on his lotus feet. And through her eyes, she engraved the form of his lotus feet within the core of her heart. In this way, the hearts of Sita and Ram, the seed of love, began to grow. So at that time, Vishwamitra asked Janak Maharaj, where is the great bow? And tell us about it. Ram had joined with them at that time with Lakshman. So Janak Maharaj says, one time, Lord Shiva gave us a gift, this great bow to the demigod, and they gave it to my forefathers. This bow is so powerful that no man has ever been able to lift it. But I have made a vow, he said, on the day when I was watching my beautiful little daughter, Sita, cleaning, she lifted this bow and dusted under it and put it back. How is it possible? Even the greatest demigod, like the greatest Rakshasas, the great kings, they cannot lift it. And my little daughter lifted. So I vow that I will take the man who cringed this bow to marry my daughter. But he said, unfortunately, I think my daughter will have to die, a Kumari, unmarried girl, because there is no one in the whole universe to lift this bow. So Vishwamitra said, Lord Ram can lift this bow. You bring it. For thousands of men had no drag this bow into the assembly, and thousands of people came into the arena to see. And at that time, he effortlessly lifted the bow, and he pulled the string, and the bow cracked. When that bow broke, it made such tremulous and thunder sound that the whole universe began to shake. Haribol. So at that time, beautiful goddess Sita, whose heart was set fixed on the lotus feet of Lord Ramchandra, she puts the garland of victory around his lotus neck. this most beautiful and wonderful union of the Lord with his eternal consort bring even great joy to the life of all the devotees. You see, a devotee's pleasure is giving Krishna's pleasure and giving Ram pleasure. The residents of Mithila, the residents of Ayodhya, and all great devotees of the Lord, they are constantly in transcendental bliss. Why? Because their only pleasure in seeing the pleasure of Lord Ramchandra. The perfection of life is to forget what do I like, what do I want, what do I need, and to simply think in terms of what will please Lord Ramchandra. To that extent, we give up our own selfish interests in life and make our only pleasure in pleasing Krishna. To that extent, we become transcendental to all the miseries of this world. This is devotion. Understand the residents of Ayodhya and Mithila. They were not Gyanis. They were not yogis. They were ordinary people. They had jobs. They were merchants. They were politicians. They were warriors. They were housewives. But they were the most fortunate and the most highly spiritually advanced. Why? Because their only pleasure in life was giving pleasure to Sita and Lord Ram. Of course, we would be very happy to continue in the narration of this Ramayana, but I think it's also becoming very close to our punctual time that we should put aside and dwell on this wonderful thing. Just realize one time in your life, our effort will never bring any success unless and until we get the mercy of those personalities who carry the love of Krishna in their heart. Our life will remain miserable, full with distress, suffering like anything. And what is the great thing happen at the time of that? We will regret it so much, I guarantee you. We will feel, because we will see our future, that now I have to go through the different pieces of life again. But can we change at that time? No. We won't be able to change. Laws of karma will take over our charge of our life. So while we are healthy, even while we are sick, we are distressed, no matter whatever it happened, as Ramapat Swami Maharaj, we celebrate on this point, qualities of Hanuman, what he went through. See that trouble that Prabhupada went through. Look at the trouble our spiritual master is going through. What he's expecting from his disciple, dependent on Krishna and Guru, and make your life successful. So we will have to end here. We should be punctual in our activity. It's 6:55. We should end our session. And I am so grateful for all the great souls who take austerity every morning. It's not easy. But we see that we get so much enlightenment. Somebody was asking, how can you, Prabhu, chant? Like, I always look where I can get a chance to chant 12 hours, 18 hours, 24 hours. And I say that I don't know. But when I chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra, I feel completely satisfied. I don't need nothing. I don't need to. The pastime is wonderful, but the interest is sit and chant. See the divine form of Radha and Krishna and make your life successful. So I would like to offer my humble obeisances at the dusk of these wonderful Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis who take so much austerity to give their kind association from Connecticut, New Hampshire, Aurora, Illinois, New York, New Jersey, Carlton, Virginia, Boston, Boise, Atlanta, Phoenix, Tempe, Austin, College Station, San Jose, Portland, Dallas, Detroit, Chicago, Naperville, Philadelphia, Charlotte, Baltimore, Baton Rouge, Alachua, Orlando, Jacksonville, Ohio, St. Louis, Loganville, Georgia, San Diego, Alaska, Maine, Ottawa, New Orleans, Laguna Beach, California, Vancouver, Toronto, Calcutta, New Delhi, sometime from Bangladesh. I didn't see today because I was totally wants to absorb in chanting, so I didn't put too much attention on the screen. But sometime the girls joined from Jammu and Kashmir, they study, and they said when they go back to their family, they don't like that they chant Hare Krishna. So they were asking me, Prabhuji, what should we do? When we go to the college, we will join your call. So hope and pray that Krishna help them to come out from the situation so they can freely chant. And also sometime from Bangladesh and definitely from Houston, Texas. At least one day the Rashikendra Prabhu asked me, hey Prabhu, how many devotee from Houston is joining your call? And I told him that maybe, 30, 40 devotees. Then I thought, because I have the list, 3 pages of list from where I read your names, who has presented, because I keep on seeing on the screen and then I see who has joined, who has not joined. So I said, let me count, Prabhu, to give you the correct answer. And I was surprised. 78 devotees every day join from Houston. What a nice thing to say. So I don't want to hold you. If you have a time, you can log in on mayapurtv.com and you can put on a live Houston channel to hear what Hanuman went through. So we didn't cover it because I know that Ramapat Swami Maharaj will be covering that topic in the morning. So we will get all this information Maharaj is sharing for last 2-3 days about Lord Ramchandra. Very wonderful. I don't have intelligence to grasp those things, but I enjoy listening the words coming out from the pure devotee of the Lord. And it has some effect if we understand or if we don't understand. I remember Prabhupada used to tell his American devotees, and sometimes he will give the class in Bengali. And Prabhupada will say all these devotees from Western world that please sit and listen. And Prabhupada used to say, language is not the barrier. Spiritual word has the potency to pierce through your heart. So even if somebody cannot understand, it has the effect if we have a sincerity to understand that message. So thank you very much. This is auspicious day. Let's pray to the Lord Ramchandra and his associates to give us the tinge of the devotion, what they have done in their life to please Lord Ramchandra. Vanchakalpatarubhasya kripa sindhubhayavacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Thank you very much. I'm going to log off to get ready for the